What's up, everyone? Hope everyone's doing well today. So this live is going to be pretty special. I'm going to have a special guest on this live, Coach Scotty P. That's who's going to be on today's live. All right. He just entered. Hey, Scott, what's you doing?
Hey, what's up, Corn? How's it going?
Everything's good. Everything's good. So I was literally just telling everyone that you're going to be here today. We're going to just do a quick interview today. And the whole point of this interview, because I know like your niche is a little bit similar to mine, but you mostly focus on vegans over 35 and you help them shed 15 to 25 pounds in just 120 days. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, perfect. So that's what we're going to talk about because I just turned 40 and I think it's good to have you on because like people need to know how to take care of themselves going from especially where they're target at 35 going into their 40s. I think that's very important because I think once you hit 40, it only gets older as you age. You know what I'm saying? So the longer you wait when it comes to your the longer you wait when it comes to taking care of yourself, when it comes to health and fitness, the harder it's going to take. And I definitely feel it's more of a lifestyle. And I just wanted to have you come in and give some, get some tips and stuff like that. So let me just do a proper introduction for you. So, everyone, I just want to welcome today's live, and I'm pumped for this one because my guest is someone who's been making serious waves in the vegan fitness world. He's the founder of Evolution Vegan Academy, a certified strength and conditioning specialist, precision nutrition coach, and has helped over 500 clients, especially vegans over 35. He helped people shed from 15 to 25 pounds in just 120 days without giving up their favorite foods. And a little bit about his background. After leaving the corporate job in 2019, he turned his passion into a full-time mission, blending science-based training with a flexible, sustainable approach to plant-based eating. He's living proof that you can build muscle, lose fat, and feel amazing on a vegan diet. So whether you're here for fat loss tips or plant-based protein hacks or just big dose of inspiration, you're in the right place today. So welcome, everyone. This is Coach Scotty B Burgett. All right. So Scott, man, thank you for coming up and showing up. But the first question I got for you is like, what inspired you to focus specifically on helping vegans over 35 lose weight while still enjoying their favorite foods?
Absolutely. Thanks for the intro, Corn. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. What inspired me, I think, back in 2019 when I started EVA, is I went vegan in 2017. Just a little background on my vegan story. Leading up to my decision to go vegan, I actually started a food blog called plantbasedscotty.com. And the food blog was just a way for me to I just went vegan, was eating plant-based. And that's when Instagram was still kind of like about pictures. And so it was all about sharing your pictures of food. And
that's when it was easy.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Back in the glory days. And I started sharing the pictures there, and there's like people, oh, what's that? It looks good. It was very, very colorful, like kind of like, going with the IG, pushing what IG wanted, and just started to explore this new way of eating. And I started kind of like doing little by little. So I was working in corporate at the time, and I would take my lunches to work, and I would do those mason jar salads where you have like the different layers of foods. It's just easy to travel with. And my protein was chicken, and it was 5 days a week, but I started like swapping it out with garbanzo beans. So I'd do like 1 garbanzo bean, 4 chicken, and then 2 and 3 and 3 and 2. And then eventually all of that. And I started eating a little bit more. Dinners started to become plant-based, breakfasts. And I was like, man, I feel really good. Like I can get behind this lifestyle. Like I really like it. And then January 2017 came around, and I was watching the documentary Cowspiracy. And the scene came on that showed the fate of baby male chickens. And if anybody in the vegan community knows what happens, it's very gruesome and very brutal. And that was kind of like the catalyst for me to be like, all right, like I'm done with meat. I'm done with animal products. Like I went vegan literally that night, cleaned out my fridge, cleaned out my pantry, everything. And literally like started over the next day, like, okay, here we go. And from there, it kind of developed. Like I started my food blog, and then I was writing about vegan health and fitness. And my identity was wrapped up in a food blogger, but I'm like, but my background's in fitness, my degree's in exercise science. I'm a former strength coach for the Seattle Mariners baseball team. And it just started to make more sense. And I was like, how can I incorporate fitness in what I'm already doing now? And naturally, it kind of gravitated towards coaching, where in 2019, I got an opportunity to work with a business mentor that helped me start the business. And it actually started off, the name was Plant Strong Fitness Academy. But as you know, Rip Esselstyn with the Plant Strong brand, there was some conflict of interest there. So I heard from his PR team, and he was like, or the PR team was basically like, Scotty, like, you can't go with this name, like, you got to change it. And I was like, no, like, this is my baby. It was like 6 months into starting coaching. Action. I was like, no. And so I was like, all right, I got to figure this out. And I kept delaying. And their PR person was like following me on Instagram. And I told her like 2 months prior, like, all right, I'll change it. And then like I put out a post and I'm looking for clients, and she's like, oh, you're working hard on changing the name. And I was like, all right, like, you got me. And so I went to a Spartan race that weekend, and like I was living in Austin at the time, and I was driving to Dallas. It was like a 3-ish hour drive there and then back. So I'm like, all right, I told my wife, I was like, look, I got to think of a different name by the time I get back from Dallas in the Spartan race. And so we were like brainstorming names in the car. We came up with like 4 options, and I posted it in the community saying like, hey, the name's got to change. Like, which one do y'all like the most? They chose Evolution Vegan Academy. And then, the rest is history. Now we just celebrated actually client number 500 on Sunday. And so it's a big month for us. And I think what kind of led me and gravitated me towards like the 35 plus crowd is that I found that like a lot more prospective clients were coming to me who were, like you said, like into their 40s, like kind of like they're seeing their body change because they're not really understanding what to do, how to do it. And I just thought, I'd kind of niche down to like, all right, like I'm going to be 36 this year, so I'm 35 plus. Like, I've started a business, I've worked in corporate, I'm now, a dad. And, so I've kind of gone through some of the major things that people might be experiencing when they come into EVA of why they can't get fit. And I wanted to be the reason for them why you can, because in EVA, I believe you can have it all. I believe you can eat the foods that you love. You can be fit. You can enjoy what you're doing. It's not going to all happen at once, but if you take it right month by month, sometimes day by day, sometimes minute by minute, and really work and keep your eyes on the prize, then you eventually will get there as long as you don't give up.
No, thanks for sharing that. And I just want to kind of recap on the trademark. Like you had what was the name that you had to change? Why you had to change the name? What was it?
It was Plant Strong Fitness Academy, and Rip Esselstyn's brand for his food is like Plant Strong Foods. And so there was like a conflict of interest. Like
conflict of interest.
They were thinking like, hey, people might mistake your brand for something that we're doing. And I'm like, but you're doing food and I'm doing fitness coaching. And they're like, it doesn't matter. Like, you need to change it. So I was like, all right, whatever. And, I've seen him like multiple times since then, and it's like water under the bridge now. But at the time it was like a big deal. I was like, no.
Oh man. Did they trademark it? They
trademarked it. And I looked into that like during that process, and I was like, and the trademark works where it's kind of like niched into, again, like my industry was different than what they're doing. So I thought I could be clean, but they weren't mean about it. They were just like, look, Scott, like if you don't do something, then we got to escalate this. So like, we're going to be like cool about it now, but like it needs to change. And at that time I was, it was like 4 months after starting my business. I was very new in the entrepreneur world. I'm like, I don't want this whole thing to shut down. I really just got started. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'll do it.
Yeah. No, I get it. But hey, it's their loss, man.
Exactly. Yeah. So it worked out now. Like, I have my own brand, and I like the name, and it works well. So yeah, it ended up working out.
No, that's good. That's good to hear. And can you like tell about your program, like how it helps shed people like 15 to 25 pounds in 120 days? Like what makes it more effective compared to other approaches out there?
Absolutely. So The way that I believe our program works well to help people achieve that 15 to 25 pounds in particular without giving up on their favorite foods is based on our system, which is called the EVA method. So the EVA method, there's 3 pillars within that method: fitness, nutrition, and then identity. And the reason why that third one is identity versus, let's say, mindset, which a lot of people use, is because um, throughout my own fitness transformation, I've had yo-yoing up and down with my weight. I would do good for periods of time and then fall off for like long periods of time. And if I just felt like I was on this constant yo-yo of like good, bad, good, bad. And I wanted to find a way to like make this thing permanent. And the thing that I thought that I needed was like, I just need to know how many calories I need to eat each day. I just need to know, right, what workouts to do to get the body that I want, and, do good on like making sure I don't go like too far with the eating. And I would always kind of take the mindset of like getting away with as much as I could versus doing the best that I can. It's kind of like a flip in that mindset. And I was like, all right, well, in order to create an identity, it takes about 2 to 3 years for somebody to recreate an identity. And at the time, like when I had gotten serious about creating my own body transformation, I was like a year in. And so it was very like young in terms of like how long it actually takes. And I just kind of had to like be patient and like settle in for the long term. And so the way that the EVA method is built was through my own experience, and then taking experiences from our clients and really seeing like, right, the length of time that it took them. And so our program, right, is built that way for those 3 pillars. And then within those 3 pillars, fitness, nutrition, and identity, we have 6 systems that help our clients create what's called their ultimate transformation. So it's really designed to be a step-by-step, like, here's week 1, here's what we're focusing on, here's week 2, week 3, to guide people to like really build in our phase 1 program. The goal is to create a foundation through habits and routine. So that's the purpose of our phase 1 program. And then for phase 2, research shows it takes about 16 to 18 months for somebody to create a lifestyle. So that's the purpose of our phase 2 program. And then 2 to 3 years for identity. That's the purpose of our phase 3 and our phase 4 program. So basically, you can kind of think of it like this, right? Let's say, college is 4 years. But let's say you went to school freshman year and you were like so proud of yourself that you went back to sophomore year thinking that you knew everything already and there was nothing else to accomplish. That'd be kind of crazy, right? So, right, that's where the real celebration is after all 4 years of college, right after senior year. So the program is kind of built, if you can imagine, for people watching this, if you go into college freshman year and then you come out senior year, you're like a completely different person. You think different, you operate differently. Like, sure, you have a degree and like you've learned stuff in college, but like you inherently are a different person. And so that's what the program is designed to do, really take somebody through that full transformation so that they actually create the identity that they want that helps them stay fit for life.
So it's like real lifestyle habits, not just those like little programs you see online for like $50 or $200 where it's like, oh, get ripped in 8 weeks and stuff like that. Like yours is like it's like really making sure that the person has sustainable results.
Exactly. Yeah. When people come to us and they want those quick fix results, or even like if somebody wants to do like a fitness competition, like I'm like, look, I don't know how to train you with that. Like I've never done that. So I'm not going to pretend like I know. Like we're not the one for you. But if you're the person that's coming in that you're like, I've tried, 3, 4, 5 different diets and none of them, maybe they worked, but none of them lasted. Or I'm heading into my 40s and my 50s, maybe my 60s. And like, I've had success before, but like, I've just kind of like let myself go. And like, I'm tired of this. It's for that person that like has tried, and they generally believe that like part of them, maybe not the majority, but part of them's like, I know I can do this. I just need like the help and the support. Like that's what EVA works for, is that person who has that small level of belief. Maybe it's not as big as they want it to be. That's what the program can help them do, is build their belief. But it's that person like, it's like, all right, look, I want this for myself and I want this so I can be better for other people. Like we work really well with clients who they don't just want to get, they want to look good. Of course, they want to feel good. They want to do it for themselves, but they do that so they can open up the capacity to help other people or serve other people. They want to be an example for their family, or maybe they're like the only vegan in their workplace and they get a bunch of shit all the time. And they're like, I want to like be the walking example of that. or maybe they go to, family Christmas and Thanksgiving and it's all just animal products and people are making fun of them and their uncle's cracking jokes and, they feel like kind of the odd duck out. They want to be the person the next, Christmas walking the door and people being like, damn, what did you do? Like, you're looking great. And then they start asking questions because that person led and became the best version of themselves and started to become a walking example of inspiration. So people want to naturally come to them and figure out what they did.
No, that's good. Yeah, that's good because you don't see a lot of coaches out there, I always say there's not, it's really hard to find a bad coach, but a lot of people have different types of coaching styles. And some people are there for transformations, like real lifestyle change. Like it's the same thing I do in my business is more lifestyle change. Like, yeah, I'll help people with competitions and stuff, but even within that, it's not just for the show and then once they're done with the show and they got their trophies, that's it. Because I tell them like with bodybuilding and stuff, I've been doing bodybuilding for over 11 years, and I tell people straight up, I'm like, bodybuilding itself is a lifestyle. You don't want to just do a show and then give up, because a lot of people get like eating disorders, body dysmorphia. There's a lot of side effects from doing bodybuilding, that a lot of bodybuilders don't talk about. And this is something that I teach them because I want, it's very similar. It's like, I want them to make sure that the body that you get for that bodybuilding show is only temporary for the show. Even the foods that you're eating and getting that lean is only for competition. It's not for forever, because if your mind gets set to that look and then you're like, oh, I have to eat like this and then look like this all year round, that can be very damaging in the future. You know what I'm saying? And then that's what creates these like very sick habits. And it's almost like the opposite of obese. It's like now you're trying to be super healthy, but when you're extreme on both ends, it can be bad. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're that lean, it's not healthy all year round. And when you're eating that particular way, you're not getting all the nutrients you actually need. So I definitely understand where you're coming from with that. And I like your approach because, again, there's not a lot of people out there who does that approach. And some people are they do the quick fixes because they understand marketing, they understand sales, and they understand the American society. Like they really understand that Americans want things fast and quick. So if you love marketing and sales, then obviously quick products that like 8 week boot camps and get a 6-pack here and there, they're going to work. And they're cheap. They're cheap. And but the real coaches, and I'm not demonizing it 100%. I would say the only positive thing about those quick programs is that, let's say if someone never got into anything, maybe that could be a good low ticket or low budget program they could get into just for momentum, But if they keep repeating over and over and over again, they're not learning lifestyle habits. They're just learning how to diet fast, and that's it. And there's only coaches out there that really sits there and tell you like, listen, it's not going to take like a few weeks. It's going to take like a few years. For it to be and a lot of people don't like, but how you explain it, it's like college. Like college is 4 years. If you're trying to be a doctor, you don't just get it in 1 year. You have to be in freaking school for 8 years or something like that, So I like your approach when it comes to that, your explanation for sure. And with that said, like what's the biggest myth about vegan nutrition, especially for fat loss and building muscle?
So what I've found with my work and then the people that I work with, I think one of the biggest myths is that you have to eat 100% whole food, plant-based, no oil, no salt, no junk food to be healthy, right? And even the word healthy, I tend to kind of stay away from, because healthy means something different for everybody, right? My healthy could be different from your healthy, could be different from the people who are watching this healthy. Like everybody's healthy is subjective, right? It's to the person can have their own idea of health. So while I believe that the majority of a whole food plant-based diet is a great in general, generally great approach, I believe people actually are sabotaging themselves by only sticking to that, in particular when it comes to protein sources. So, being in the world yourself, I'm sure, you've experienced this working with people, where my thing that I talk about a lot on social media, and then I try to educate my audience on, is that, look, like, right, the whole food plant-based vegan community says, for example, that garbanzo beans are protein sources. But if you actually look at the nutrition facts, like, yes, they do have a decent amount of protein in them for beans, 100%. But when you look at the actual macronutrient, breakdown of it, carbohydrates, they have, I believe, 60 to 70%, somewhere in there, of the food itself is carbohydrates, when only, like 15 to 20% is protein. So, when you look at that, it's like, well, actually it's more of a carbohydrate, and it takes hundreds and hundreds of calories, for example, just to get in 25 grams of protein from garbanzo beans. So don't give them up altogether, because beans are great, and 100%. Like, this is where people, I think, tend to be like, well, what are you demonizing beans? It's like, no, like, of course, eat your beans, but include that with other actual protein sources, like extra firm tofu or tempeh, right? Or seitan, like some of the actual more calorie friendly proteins that, when you actually look at the macronutrient spread between, and if people don't know what I'm talking about, macronutrients are protein, carbs, and fats. So if you look at the spread between the two, protein is the highest percentage in those foods. And if you're eating those foods as your, what I like to call primary proteins, right? If those are your primary proteins, then your supplementary or secondary protein sources like beans and lentils, that the ratios are a little bit off, they can kind of help complement those sources, but you're utilizing those primary ones as your main ones. And because of that, you're able to find it easier to stay within your, your calorie deficit if you're on a fat loss phase, for example. You're probably going to feel a little bit less bloated because you're not eating, 2 cans, 3 cans of what I used to eat, like 3 or 4 cans of beans per day. I was eating that way. And I was like,
damn,
like, fuck all the time. Like, it was just bad. And I'm like, I can't be eating 4 cans of beans, like trying to hit my protein goal. Like, that's not going to work. And so if I could share, like summarize the message itself, is like, look, whole food plant-based, like, generally speaking, the majority of the food, absolutely great, healthy, awesome choices. But on the flip side, specifically when it comes around protein, there are better, and then, people kind of like, well, aren't they processed? It's like, they're minimally processed. Comparing seitan to, let's say, potato chips, both of them are processed, not even close to being the same, right? So that's where it's like the nuance comes in. But if people would generally include more of those primary protein sources in while eating mostly plant-based, they would get so much better results, feel better, actually hit their protein goals, and not feel like, oh my God, I'm having to eat all this food. It's like, it's more manageable.
No, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, my take on it is that I feel that in the vegan community, there's many different types of communities. It's almost like a religion, right? So it's like, if you have Christianity, that tree breaks. It has so many branches, right? You have Catholic and Baptist and Southern Baptist, and it just goes on. And it's just very similar with the vegan community. And one thing that I notice is that most vegans try, when they go plant-based, they want to become this purist, and the purist mentality starts going down, where, like, I've seen memes where they had people trying to be breatharians, I'm like, bro, like,
that's wild. It's wild.
Yeah. Like, I'm just gonna take sunlight and air and a little bit of water each day. And I'm like, bro, you're not a plant, like, like,
Crazy.
I get that you want to be plant-based, but you're not a plant, dude. But and I feel that's where it comes down to, is because so many people try to become purists. And I say right now, like, it's one of the reasons why I don't work with raw vegans. Like, I just don't work with them, because a lot of that purist mentality goes there. And I just tell them, like, sorry, I don't work with raw vegans. Like, I know a couple that does it right, and it's a lifestyle for them. But my take is, like, it has to be a lifestyle, because I know most of the people that comes to me with that approach, I know they're not doing it for a lifestyle. The people that I know that's raw vegan, they're raw vegans for life. Like, they'll go to a movie theater and pop out a mango and start eating it, bro. Like, they're going to do it for They're going to do it for life, and I respect that, But like, I'm like, that's not me, man. I'm going to have an Impossible Burger and some French fries and popcorn, dude. And
Me
like,
too.
that's just me. That's how I am,
Same.
But that's the thing, and I know like majority of people that comes to me, they only want to do it for a diet. And I'm like, you don't want to go into a particular diet or a lifestyle. You don't want to go into a particular lifestyle with a diet mentality, because you're not training yourself how to do it right. You're just training how to lose weight. And then once you lose the weight and you feel like you want to, eat a burger or have some cake with your daughter or something like that, or a family occasion happens, you're going to eat that, and then you're going to once you have a piece. If you were all vegan, you eat one piece of cake, your brain's going to light up like it's crazy. Like it's going to light. Yeah, it's going to be like, oh, like what happened? Yeah, you just dose your brain with so much sugar, like your body's like, where has this been for so long, and it just makes you like crazy again. So that's why I tell people, I'm like, unless you're doing it for a lifestyle, like I have some people I could refer you to for sure. They do it for life. That's their jam. That's their lifestyle. But if you want to do something that's more adaptable to your lifestyle, because even when you're raw vegan, it's a little bit time consuming as well. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't work for people very busy, It's really difficult. So I'm like, you have to also make sure that whatever you're trying to do is also adaptable to your actual life, 100%. Because when people ask me, I'm like, they ask me if I ever would go raw. I'm like, I don't know, maybe if I'm 80 years old and I'm retired and I got nothing else to do in my life, yeah, maybe.
Right.
I was like, I'll be some yogi guy wearing all white, have nothing else better to do. Probably, I was like, maybe I would go raw vegan when I'm 80 years old or something like that. I have all the time in the world. I could sprout my own beans and have my own garden and stuff and do yoga meditation there, like pray to my shit. I don't know, man. I do a bunch of craziness. But I was like, right now, my hands are full. I'm like, I live in an apartment in Miami, and I'm like, where I'm going to sprout, like, I'm not going to have my whole apartment filled with like tin cans and stuff and jars sprouting things, and like, I'm like, it's just too much time. I'm like, and I'm like, it's too much. I'm not trying to make fun of it, but I know what it takes, and I'm like, because I see what some people do, and I'm like, I'm not doing all of that. I'd rather just go to Whole Foods, buy some foods, whip it up real quick in the kitchen, to go. If I want to eat out, I can eat out. I'm like, this is a lifestyle I was brought up in. I lived in the city majority of my life. I'm like, so it's really hard to get out of that type of habit and then try something that's going to be more time consuming. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
100%.
I get it, man. I definitely get it. And the next question for you is like, what's the mindset shift do your successful clients make early on? Like, what's some of those like mindset shifts that they get?
That's a good question. If I look at it, I kind of look at it in terms of like, phases of my program. So what I see the most successful clients, the mindset shift that they make at the end of our phase 1 program is a couple of things. So number one, I would say they see accountability as ownership, not as consequences. And I'll explain what that means. So most people, when they think of accountability, they think of like, with a coach, for example, that, it's like the coach, like with the finger up, like, what did you do? Tell me what you ate today. Why did you do that? Like kind of like bad. Well, that's kind of from whatever, maybe it's from past trauma or from, maybe they had a coach in their past history that was super mean to them or whatever. Like maybe that's where it came from, or maybe a movie or like, media of like bringing it up. But what we find is that our clients see accountability as ownership, in that they wanted coming into EVA, like they realized like they couldn't hold themselves accountable for whatever reason. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like coaches need coaches, right? I use coaches, so I have no shame in that. But they see it now as ownership. They're like, all right, this coach is helping me and making sure that I'm doing the right things and guiding me. But at the end of the day, like I have to do it. Like no one's going to come meal prep for me. No one's going to come do my workouts. No one's going to come, put the sleeve of Oreos down when I really want to eat it. Like I have to do that. So they see and they like own the accountability. They're like, yeah, I do want to make, my coach proud, and I do want to do a good job, and I want good results. But they also see that in themselves of like, okay, like this is what accountability is. Accountability is this ownership on the good things and the bad things. So when I mean the good things and the bad things, it's, yeah, like I lost 25 pounds. Like, yeah, thanks EVA. But like, I did that myself. And I love when clients own that, like, but I had to do that. I had to do the workouts, the steps, the meal prep. And on the flip side, right, when they make a mistake, instead of like beating themselves up for it, and bad me, shame on me, or, oh God, I'm such an idiot. Like using those terms, or like, damn it. All right. What did I do wrong? Right. What triggered me? Like they kind of start looking at it a little bit more logically of like, what led me to make that decision? Why did I make that decision? And then what I train them to kind of go is like, what can I do better next time? Because if you're always looking ahead to what's next, then you're going to be it's going to be less of like a big deal in the moment. Like, sure, it's going to suck and it's going to hurt and all those negative feelings. Everybody's going to feel those. But if you're like, all right, how can I be better the next time? Because that mistake is going to happen again. No matter how, great or experienced, right, people are, there's always going to be those things that come up in the future. So if you can make that decision then in that moment after you made it, and be like, all right, the next time this happens, I'm going to do this or call this person or say this. Then when it happens again, their brain goes back to what they, said that they would do. They make a better decision. And now they look at themselves like, oh, I did a good job here. Like I said I was going to do this and I did it. And now it kind of adds another stack of evidence that like they can reach their goals. So I would say accountability as ownership is probably the number one mindset of like seeing that. And then a different mindset that they kind of take is that they realize like what we've been talking about how creating a lifestyle and an identity takes some time. They kind of just learn to accept it. Like they're not in so much of a rush for things to happen. Like some of them, right, at different points in times, depending on what's going on in their life, they might want results faster, right? A lot of clients are like, why isn't this happening faster? And it's like, you're losing a pound a week, you're right on track, right? And so at the end of phase one, I see a lot of our successful clients, they're kind of like, all right, I trust this process. I see that one day up on the scale is not a huge deal. Like it's, if I do the right things, it's going to come back down. Scale bounces and bumps are very normal. They kind of normalize those things. They start to normalize like mistakes, so to speak. Like they don't make such a big deal about it. They kind of just like, all right, like, this sucks. I feel bad. I don't want to do this again. And they kind of just move on from it. And so what we find is like, that I explain it to them is like, there's the period of time, like when you fall off and then when you get back on track. And before EVA, that period of time was very long for them. They'd fall off and they make more excuses and they let a week go by and then now they're back on track. Well, what I see in our successful clients at the end of our phase one program is that latency period has shortened to where if they fall off, or maybe right back on track the next day or right back on track in 2 days or, way shorter than it was at the beginning. And then as they move forward in our different phases, that shortens and shortens to where it's just like they fall off and they're like, oh, right back on. Like it's not even a question. It becomes less of a question and just like, all right, I had a day, I'm right back on track the next day. And then that type of mentality helps elevate them to reach, their next level goals and so on and so forth and become, part of the leaders in our community. And so I'd say probably like those two mindsets of accountability is ownership. It's not consequences, it's ownership. And then shortening that latency period of like just getting right back on track and not making in the big picture, not making those small little like moments a big deal. They kind of just like brush it off, own it, and then are on to the next thing.
Got it. And like I like that approach too, because it's more like you said, you're trying to teach people better habits in the beginning, especially during that phase one. So even if they're messing up, you're just helping them making like minor adjustments and being like, yo, don't like skip your check-in call. Like I'm not here to hound you. I'm here to just like look at your mistakes, see how we can be better, and I like that approach. What about those clients who you have that conversation, but it's like you just keep hitting the wall? Like, do you ever get that, like, give them that tough love, like,
Good question. Yeah, we get those clients from time to time. I find that when those things happen, the way that I train my coaching staff to like address those things and kind of we handle them is we work on what's called like permission-based coaching. So for example, if we're working with a client like that and it's been, 3 weeks and they've got it, like we've had a call or we've had a message and they're like, yeah, like I got all this planned. And then, the week goes by and nothing happens. And then again and again, and it's like 3 weeks in, for example, we'll kind of approach that of the next conversation where it's like, okay, we got to do something here. Like we can't just keep doing the same thing. We can't just keep creating commitments, but then not following through. Like something has to change now, or else we're just like doing the same things and expecting the same results, which, or expecting different results, which is the definition of insanity, right? We can't keep doing those. So what we would do is kind of approach it like this, like, hey, Corn, I noticed we've been setting these commitments and the calls go great, like the check-ins go great, and like you seem really excited. And then, when I check up on you, they're not following through. Totally understand, right? This is part of the journey. So it's very normal for you to experience these things. I can remember back on your check-in call with me when you said that this was really tough for you and that like you've tried a bunch of things in the past and you would get all excited and then you'd fall off. So like right now we're just repeating some of the patterns that happened coming into EVA. But I was wondering, just like, do I have permission to be the coach that you need to hear right now versus the one that you want to hear? And it gives them the chance to say yes or no, right? If they say no, then like, okay, no worries, let's go on to the next thing. Most of them say yes because we're asking for, we're trying to be polite about it. And so that permission, and it kind of like, it gives them a little bit of like we're not going to like drop the hammer on them, but like we need to have a serious conversation. It kind of like preludes that in a way, like just a little different. And so if they say yes, right, cool, I appreciate that. So as you probably understand, like we can't keep setting these commitments and then not doing them. Otherwise, 10 weeks will go by and we'll be in the exact same spot as now. So let me ask you this question, like what's been coming up for you these last couple of weeks that has been maybe preventing you from taking that next step from actually doing it? Is it something that I've said, that I've offended you? Is it, something that you feel like that you need that we haven't provided for you? Or did something happen in your life, in your personal life, that maybe like you were embarrassed about and you're not telling me because you're not really sure how to communicate that? Like, or am I way off here? Like, is it something completely different? And so what it does for them, like when you ask that question, it kind of gives them the avenues of like, oh, it's this, or oh, it's this, or oh, it's this, or, and then kind of like, or am I way off, right? I could be, and that gives kind of them to be like, no, like, I'm just like, not, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing what I'm saying I'm doing. And I'm kind of embarrassed. And then that kind of brings the walls down. Of like, oh, all right. Well, thank you. Like, I can totally relate. Like I've done the same thing too before working with my coach in the past. Or I remember one time, I usually kind of relate to a story. I train my coaches to like relate to them with a story around it. And once we kind of like bring the walls down and connect a little bit more on that emotional level, then I would kind of steer the conversation. And okay, so if that thing has been preventing you from doing this thing, what do you think might be helpful for you to kind of like finally get over that edge to like do it? Like, and I would kind of give some prompts like, is there too much going on? You just need to simplify it, or maybe setting a reminder on your phone, or would you like me to send an additional message to you to ask like, hey, you said you're going to do this. Like, does the communication need to happen more frequently from me? Or is there another idea you might have that I didn't think of? And so it allows them to come to me with what they think they need. And then from there, we kind of just build it. And so let's say that conversation goes on. By the end of the conversation, it's like, okay, so if I hear you right, in order to do this thing, you need to set this thing up in your life and you need me to do this. And if we have those in place, then we can pretty much guarantee that that thing's going to happen, right? Are we on the same page with that? They say yes. Okay, cool. So do you have that thing in your calendar that you need to do to make sure you get it done? Then it comes to the accountability, right? Making sure they do. All right, I got it in my calendar to message you tomorrow at 10 a.m. to make sure you got that thing done. Let's get this thing done. Does that sound good to you? Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. All right, cool. And then we kind of move on to it.
No, the reason I was laughing because it was just like in the beginning, you're like, do I have the permission? Is like in my mind, cause I was in the military, so it's like in my mind, I'm thinking like, do I have permission to rip you a new one? Like
and that's kind of what I want them thinking, because I want them to think. And I'm going to come in down here a little bit lower, and they're going to be like, oh, okay, it wasn't as bad as I thought. Then it's going to train them to know that like I'm on their side, right? But I know what you're saying.
Yeah. That's why I was like, I was like, damn, I like that, bro. It's like, because in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, do I have permission to rip you a new one right now?
Yeah.
All right, cool, bet. Let's do it.
And that's the thing is like that's what people think is going to happen, and I kind of want them to think that, because they're going to be like, okay, I did sign up for this thing, but then we come in lower and it's like, oh, this is what it is. Because my goal for them is to see like, look, I'm not here to rip you a new one. Like I'm here to just be like, look, you told me you wanted this. We have to do this to get there. So let's figure out a way to do that. It's really like a collaborative, like a coaching approach, a collaborative team approach.
All right, that's dope, man. That's dope. And then let's talk a little bit about business, and then we'll go right into just a small Q&A, because I know you have to leave pretty soon. So with that said, when it comes to your social media, I know like especially on your Instagram, it's highly engaging. Like, what's some of your strategies for creating content that actually converts followers into clients?
So I'll be 100% transparent and honest. Like, I am not a social media guru, but whatsoever. I try my best, and I feel like out of all the things that I do, that's my weakest point. So I tend to like learn a lot from other people and try different strategies. When it comes to like, creating content for others, what I find that works well for me is I kind of got like a couple of different buckets of what I do. So like one bucket is like relatability to me as Scott and my own story. So I tend to share different parts of my story that aren't the funnest to share, right? But to kind of show the client that like, look, I know I look like this now, but this wasn't always this way. Because sometimes you get so far out of it, you kind of forget where you started from. And so it's really like going back to the roots of that. So I kind of share more personal stories to connect and relate to potential clients. Excuse me. And then other ones are more like, here's the thing, like here's a resource, here's recipes, here's something to help you, like more of like providing value, right? Is kind of like what it's shared of like, here's the thing that's going to help you, right? And so I kind of do that bucket as well. I do a lot of giveaways and sharing recipes, different resources. I got a really good weight loss course that I've been sharing with people. And then another bucket of the content really is like taking, and I've kind of been experimenting a little bit. Sometimes I do like, my other bucket's kind of like experimentation. And so some things I've experimented with are like, trying to be like my version of funny, like trying to like be funny and light, just to like, oh, look, he's a coach, but like, he's just like me, right? He likes to dance, or he likes to do this. He just to kind of like share my own personality. Other ones that I've been doing recently is I've found other reels of other creators that say, look, I did this one thing and it helped me lose all this weight. And it's like, the most ridiculous thing that at least I think everybody knows, but I know that definitely did not help them lose the weight. They're lying. And so I'll like despair, right? And so like I've been doing a couple of those. I like to do what I eat in a day, because I generally eat the same or similar things throughout the day. Like I eat high protein as I know you do too. And so just like showing people like, look, like, yes, I eat majority whole food, plant-based, but like I love dessert. You mentioned popcorn at the movies. I like popcorn. I literally, not kidding, like you can check on MyFitnessPal, eat popcorn literally every night. So like showing like, you can be ripped, you can be strong, you can be, look a certain way, feel good, and you can eat all these foods. Like, yeah, you can't eat them all the time, but like if you do it a certain way, here's how I do it, right? You can do that. So I would say in social media, it's kind of like those three buckets. It's like the experimentation, the relatability, and then kind of like the funny, like show my personality style pieces of content.
That's dope, man. That's dope. And thanks for sharing all that. It's working. Everything you're doing is working. So it's not like you're that bad. I mean, you have 89.6 thousand followers. I mean, you don't understand how many people would love to just have that.
It's been a journey.
I always try. I always tell people like, hey, no matter how many followers you have, even 1,000 is a lot. I was like, you think like 1,000, if you put it in the room, 1,000 people in a room is following you. That's a good start. So exactly. I always tell people when it comes to that stuff, like, yeah, don't take numbers for granted and don't compare, like everyone has their journey. Some people build quickly, some people build slowly, but if it's working, it's working. You just have to keep going. Now, with that said, just some quick Q&A, and then I'll ask you where everyone can find you, and then
Cool.
that'll be it. But we got a few questions in the chat. The first question is by Kyle Saylor. He says, how do you get essential amino acids?
How do I get essential amino acids? Pretty much through the the foods that I eat. I focused on hitting. So my approach is like, if you're hitting your protein goal daily and you're eating, genuinely speaking, right, a variety of foods, and like, again, variety is one of those things, like the word health, like variety can mean different things to different people. But to get those right, I eat, different types of proteins, right? I eat seitan, tofu, tempeh, swap it up. I eat garbanzo beans, black beans, pinto beans, quinoa, rice, all different sorts of foods to really, get in those amino acids. And from what I've researched and from what I know about, plant-based nutrition, is that as long as you're generally are eating a variety of foods, and you're, in particular, like eating higher protein levels, which, I know for sure I'm doing, then I'm generally going to get, all the amino acids that I need. And I kind of base it on like, look, I look at my results, right? If I'm feeling down and I'm not seeing results, then I'm like, all right, something's a little bit off here. But generally speaking, I've done this for so long now that I don't believe in like, you have to be perfect. And like, to be honest, like, and I won't open up a can of worms here with this, but I think I personally believe that there's too much focus on like the little things, on like, got to make sure we get all our micronutrients, got to make sure we get got to make sure we do everything perfect every single day. It's like, dude, no, we don't. We're humans. We are so adaptable. Like, our bodies are so smart. And, as you know, our body pools amino acids to pull from later. Our body, like, if we're off one day, it's not going to like lose our gains, and we're not going to lose all of it. So I take the approach of like, what's my 80%? Like, if I'm doing 80% solid most of the time, I know everything's going to be fixed, because there are some days where I'm doing 100%. Where like, I know I'm going to be there. And there are also some days where I'm doing like 50%, or like they're shitty days, like they're sucky days. But as long as I'm mostly doing those 80% days and I feel good, my sleep's good, right? My bowel movements are regular, my energy's up. I use a Whoop tracker to track, some of my stats. I get blood work once a year. As long as all that is at a solid level, then my focus is for amino acids, like, eat high protein, hit your protein goal, and then generally speaking, eat a variety of foods.
No, I like that approach. Yeah, some people don't understand that. It's more like you said, as long as your blood work is good, it shows that everything you're doing is right. You don't have to be perfect every single day. I mean, because there's days I have just a bunch of junk food, man. I just want to have cake, Impossible Burger, hot dogs. Like, I was eating random shit. Right? I'm like, hey, man. And if I show it online, some people will criticize, like, oh, it's junk, it's highly processed. I'm like, bro, but it's like, do you know how many days out of the week I actually eat healthy compared to days I eat like this? Like, I'm like, my blood work's optimal. So that's all that matters. I'm like, everyone's trying to be clean freak. It gets a little too ridiculous. Let's see. How do vegans get B12? This is from Kami0357 me.
The way that I get B12 is just this one supplement that I take. So it's a bilingual supplement, just something that I'll stick under my tongue. I usually end up chewing it because I don't like keeping it under my tongue. But nonetheless, I learned this way back when I first went vegan from Dr. Greger. The optimal recommendation, at least from my understanding, from what I read, it was 2,500 milligrams once a week is adequate to maintain normal B12 levels. So Saturday is my B12 day. So I literally just take one supplement a week. This supplement, like, I actually did how long it lasts me and what the actual cost of each, because people are like, there's so many supplements on eating vegan. And it's like, all right, well, it cost me 8 cents per day if I were to average it all out. And 8 cents per day to me is worth like one supplement that's so easy to get. So that's how I get my B12. Like, there are other foods like nutritional yeast, and I think like algae or seaweed or something like that have natural B12 levels in it. In particular, because the risk of a low B12 is really high, I wouldn't put all my the poor vegan example here, but I don't know another one to share. I wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket for like food groups, right? I'm going to take a supplement, right, to just like once a week, like it's literally once a week. So like it's super easy for me. So that's how I get it.
And then the last one, there's a guy here. He's talking about like pretty much he's going off on like the vegan lifestyle. So just to sum it up, he feels that this diet requires a lot of supplements and it's not natural diet. He feels just eating beef is better. Like he wrote a lot of other things, but I'm just getting straight to the point. What do you say something when someone says something like that?
Show me the results. Like, right. Show me the results. Like, if you really want to go down that route, I got 500 success stories of clients. Like, I'm a living example of my own program, right? You can say whatever you want. A lot of people can say a lot of things, but like, show me the results, right? A diet that requires a lot of supplements isn't a natural diet. That's the natural, what is it? The natural food fallacy or the natural diet fallacy, that everything needs to be natural from nature for it to be considered healthy. And again, healthy is very relative. If we want to compare blood work, I got solid blood work. I sleep really well. I have 2 kids, so my testosterone and everything's working really well. I'm generally fit. I have high muscle mass, relatively low body fat. Like, I'm good. I'm doing well. So like, I kind of look at like, I'm living the example. And so for people like that, it's like, hey, say what you want. Impossible Burgers are horrible for you, bro. Well, where's the proof, right? I don't show me the actual like evidence. If you're going to make claims, like, show me the actual evidence, because a lot of people talk, but few people will actually follow through. And I like to pride myself in that I'm somebody who actually follows through and is a living, breathing example of it. And so my kind of take is like, look, if you want to see if it works or not, like, I am the example. Like, that's the standard that I hold myself to. It's not arrogant. It's not cocky. It's just that, speaking of lifestyle, it's the lifestyle I've chose to live, of being that example of that. And if I'm ever caught slipping, feel free to call me out. Like, I'm a former athlete. Like, I thrive in that type of environment. But, you bet your butt that I'm going 100%, right? And I'm going to take it to the nth degree to really live and breathe that example. So, I'm guessing that person does not live a vegan lifestyle. They're just, regurgitating everything else they hear from the media. I'll keep living it and doing really well because I feel really good eating this way, and my clients do too.
Yeah, and when it comes to these comments, I mean, I hear it all the time anyways, you know what I'm saying? But the thing is that, when it comes to like a vegan lifestyle and what's healthy and what's not, like, it doesn't matter. It's not just vegan. I always tell it, it's not just vegan. It could be any diet. Anyone could be healthy or unhealthy on any type of diet. It doesn't 100%. Matter if it's carnivore, vegan, pescatarian, like plant forward, Miami Beach diet. Like, anyone can be healthy or unhealthy on any particular diet, because you have to understand how to get the vitamins and minerals. And on top of that, I'll also like to throw the 2 cents in, is that even when it comes to animal-based foods, you have to understand that most of these animals are eating supplements too, to get some of the vitamins and minerals that you actually get from the meat. So I always say that you are what you eat, but you are what you eat that eats as well. You know what 100%. I'm saying? If that makes sense. So some people don't understand that, and they don't do the proper research into that. And even with myself, when I was eating when I was on an animal-based diet, and I was still taking supplements. There's
same here. Same here, dude. Same here.
And people that work out take supplements and they eat meat.
Exactly.
Like, a lot of people take it. So I don't like, again, this mindset is almost like a purist mindset, just on the other side of the fence. And it's like, dude, like, even if I was eating meat, I would still be taking supplements, because I was taking supplements when I was eating meat, and I'm taking supplements even as a vegan. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm still taking creatine. I was taking creatine when I was eating meat. I'm taking creatine now. Like, it never made a difference, And the whole points of supplementations is that it's for sport performance. So it's supposed to enhance. It's a natural way to enhance your body, to get more than what you need, because you're exercising, you're training hard, and you want faster recovery. You want faster results. So supplementations isn't bad, So it's not that being vegan, you have to have supplements. You don't have to have supplements for anything. but like people take supplements because they want to enhance what they want to get, and they want to get it a faster and easier way, because even with B12, like I've had people who eat meat who lack B12. I had people who eat meat that lacks iron. I have people who eat meat who lacks vitamin D.
Exactly.
So it's not just about eating meat, it's about eating the essential types of foods to get all the nutrients that you need. And if you can't, then supplement. And some people genetically can't get a lot of iron because maybe they're genetically, they have it. Like my family, we have we have a lot of people that's anemic, so it's hard for my body to absorb iron. It doesn't matter, but I don't want to be chowing down on animal flesh, like, because I would have to eat more than what I need. And I've already naturally have high cholesterol, like it's not like super high, but it's like, it's higher. It's higher than, I can't get it down to like the 60s. So it's always like in the 90s to 100. And I can't get it, they say like the lower you can get your LDL, the better. But for me, I can never get it low. And I've tried eating so extremely healthy. And part of it, I think, is just the training, because they're like,
definitely,
if you're training very hard, sometimes your LDL cholesterol goes up to counteract with the intensity and the stress that your body is going through. So, but it's not in a place where doctors are saying like, oh my God, it's like you need to stop. They're just like, all right, well, if you could get it lower, that's great, but it's not their concerns. They're looking at people that it was like in the 200s or something like that. So sometimes genetics also play a part too. But with that said, Scott, man, like, thanks for showing up. Can tell everyone where they can meet you and find you at.
Yeah. Instagram, Coach Scotty B _ Scotty is SCOTTY, B, the letter B _. So Coach Scotty B _ is probably the best place to find me. That's where I'm most active.
And what about for your coaching program and stuff?
You can search the link in my bio for a link in that. If you're interested in coaching, you can feel free to, if you're watching this right here, shoot me a DM that says the word coaching, and we'll take it through a conversation to see if we're a mutual fit to go forward. But yeah, I have my application page that you can look at on the link in my profile. And there's some details right on my page as well for that too.
All right, dope, man. Well, Scott, thanks for showing up, man. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, man?
All right, Corn. Thank you.
Peace, bro.
Peace.
No problem.